Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Soap Studio Dark Knight Trilogy CATWOMAN. And it's another figure with clothes on it, which means it's not my cup of tea at all, but they send them to me so I can review them for you guys. I know a lot of you guys are interested in this sort of thing, and a lot of you are into the Dark Knight Trilogy. Also not my cup of tea, but that will not keep me from giving you an honest review so you can spend your money wisely. There's some stuff to like about this figure, some stuff to not like, and some stuff in the middle. So we're going to talk about all of that, and in order to do that, we need to get it off the stand and take a closer look. This figure stands just about 16.5 centimeters, which makes it pretty close to 6.5 inches. Before we get into the rest of the review, question of the day. Easy question, very easy question, very heated question. Was the Dark Knight trilogy any good? Overall, not just one film, all three films together. Was it any good? You can support your argument if you like, and just be courteous in the comment section below and have fun arguing about that. Alright, so this is another one of those clothed figures, which, like I said, is not my cup of tea at all. Does it look good? Well, in the detail department, yes. If you look at the clothing, it's only a 6-inch figure really, and it is very well detailed. I don't know that they could do any better. Like, I don't know if it's possible even to do any better. They did it really, really well. Looks great. Doesn't look like it's out of place at this scale. It looks fine, partly because she's in like a spandex / leather outfit, and that's easier to reproduce than cloth. I will say though that the seam back here does make it look like she has a tail that's tucked in. Just gonna point that out. Don't look at her butt too much and you won't notice it, though I'm guessing a lot of you who are buying this are gonna want to look at her butt, and you're a bunch of weirdos, but I have to tell you the truth. The face is, I think, good enough. It's not great. It's not terrible. I think it's okay. There's some shading on it. The paintwork that's on there is clean. I will note that the neck is a very noticeably different color than the face, and that is not good at all. I'll note that the hair looks decent the way it is, but there's no other option, and so that is definitely going to be limiting. That's kind of an accessory issue / articulation issue, but it is what it is. The wrinkles seem to be reasonable on this figure, folds and things like that. I'll say aesthetically speaking, it gets like a 7. If it was just the suit, I'd give it a higher rating, but including that head and neck issue, and also she's not anywhere near as shapely as she probably should be. She's a little straight up and down, and well, you saw in the box in the beginning, she's a little more curvy than that in real life. Not thick, but you know what? Okay, so yeah, I gave you a rating, didn't I? I think I did. If I didn't, well, make your own. Okay, on to the accessories. This figure comes with the 2 loose hands that come out in the package, 2 fist hands, 2 regular gun gripping hands, 2 bigger gun gripping hands, and then 2 wide open secondary type of hands. She has 2 different goggle things that turn into the cat ears when they fold up on her head. They just peg into the side of her head. We also get a pistol, which is pretty nicely done. I like that. And then we get a gun thing, which I don't remember her using at all, but apparently she did, and we get that. And we get a Batman pin, not for her. And then you also get a display stand, which is good enough. Probably not the best thing for dynamic posing, but it'll get the job done for most cases. Decent spread of accessories. I don't really have a problem with any of them. I will say that gets an 8 out of 10. I will note that the big gun thing, the bullet things that are in there, they're not actually bullets, I should note, but it says something about in the instruction sheet that they're supposed to glow under certain UV light. I don't have any lights that can make them glow, and some of my lights are particularly specific UV wavelengths, and I still couldn't make them glow. So I don't know what's up with that. Apparently that's also true for the tips of these things on the side of her goggles, and I could not make any of them glow. I don't know what is the wavelength, but I couldn't get it to work. Maybe it's black light, like specific black light, and I don't have that specific wavelength. I don't know. Well, there you go. Okay, there's your information. All right, time for the articulation, which is not going to be great. It's a bodysuit figure with very thin parts. It can't be that good, I'm guessing. We're going to find out. The head, very limited based on the hair. Obviously, the hair is soft-ish, but it's still mostly not. So it's going to limit you. Does it matter that much? Probably not. I don't know. She can look down. She can look up. The neck does move. Like, it's very natural looking. It's just limited. So yeah, it's fine. Like, the neck is good, but the head itself can't do much because of that hair. And I'm getting some fight I don't know if it's one of the joints has flashing on it or what, but it's fighting me a little bit. For the shoulders, we have a ball peg that connects the shoulder to the body, lets it all move around. Then we have a hinge that lets the arm raise up. And you can do that, so that's pretty good. Rotation works. That's it. Twisting, that's without me shuffling it around the arm. And I'm not going to bother doing any more than that. So that's pretty good. That's better than you would normally see. There is a swivel in there for the bicep. You get a double jointed elbow, I believe. They usually do double jointed elbows. This one feels like a single, but it could just be because of her thick glove. Either way, it seems very limited. I can't get much out of that. This one, okay, so it is a double. The glove is slightly different on this one as far as just where it is on the arm. I haven't really finagled them too much. It is a double, but you still can't get all that much range out of it. The wrists, I don't know if they're straight pegs or what we have going on. They look like ball pegs to me. Let's pop one off and see. Yep, just a ball peg. Very limited range, mostly just going to be a swivel. For the torso, there's a diaphragm joint and a peg down here. She can technically move fairly well, but the suit at this scale is just too much suit for the joints to handle, and it ends up just resetting itself back to neutral for the most part. You'll get some range out of it, but you get a lot of bunching and stretching, and it's not easy to do. Her belt is a separate piece, so it won't get in the way of too much. So that's a good thing, but like I said, the suit just is too limiting. Same thing for the hips, probably. Let's see. Yep, that's what I thought. Technically, the range is there. Won't work. Bring the legs forward. Again, technically, the range is there, but it's fighting me and pulling the joint back down. Going back, you do get a little bit of range, but again, it's doing a little bit too much fighting. This figure is definitely not for somebody who wants to be posing the figure a lot. It's going to be on the shelf for you to look at, and that's about it. You do get a thigh swivel in there. Double jointed knee actually works really well, surprisingly. I mean, it's still only just a little bit better than 90 once it stops resetting itself, but even with the boot on top of this, which maybe just stops right there, they did a pretty good job with that. And then the ankles are little tiny ball hinges, but they're super fragile. They're not very stiff. They seem to be good enough for posing, but I wouldn't mess with them very much. That almost feels like metal, but I don't think it is. I think it's just plastic. They did a good job sculpting the boots and painting them, but they seem kind of big. Yeah, I don't know. Articulation's average for this kind of figure, I would say. It's still very limited. I get that it's understandable for this kind of thing, and those of you that collect this sort of thing are okay with that, but objectively, it's still pretty limited. So I'm only going to give it a 6 for articulation. And so here's the thing, time for the final verdict. This figure suffers from all of the problems that figures with clothes on them suffer, from which they suffer. There's some English. It just doesn't work at this scale. It hardly works at the Hot Toy scale, honestly. I mean, it took them, 100 years before they got an Iron Man that could function, and he's armored. And then Spider-Man, half of his figures are limited. You know, you get the idea. Clothing just doesn't work at scale, really, for articulation. It looks good. They're always on point in terms of the aesthetic, but the articulation is just so limited. So it's always hard for me to rate these things. It is very limited, but it does look good and comes with a lot of success. I'll give it a 7 overall. That's my final verdict. For what it is, it's a 7. I'm not going to compare it to other things that don't have clothes on them, because that's just not fair. The clothing does impact the figure, but that is what it is. That's like buying a slow car and complaining that it's slow. It's the way it's made. If you want a fast car, then you can't buy a slow one. And if you want a figure that poses, you can't buy one that doesn't. That's just the way it is. You guys let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. Make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.